Well, Happy New Year! Woo! I've been waiting for so long to say that to everybody. Happy New Year! I always get excited about every new year, not just this year, but every year, ever since I was a little kid, because as even as a family, like when I was really little, we still made a big deal about New Year's Day. And, we loved talking about resolutions. And so as I became a young adult and I started kind of having my own goals, I really enjoyed the process, and I still do, of evaluating my previous year and not just looking at where I dropped the ball, but also looking at my wins. And then I kind of reevaluate, well, what would I like to do differently? Maybe what would I like to embody this year that's a little different from last year? Now, in Unity churches on the first Sunday of the year, lots of Unity churches participate in something called the White Stone Ceremony. And the white stone ceremony, you're given a little white stone and you get to write a new name on it for yourself, because the ceremony is all about looking back at what you overcame and then thinking about what do you want to call forth in the coming year. The white stone ceremony actually comes from the book of Revelations. And the book of Revelations deals with hidden meanings and symbols. And this particular verse had to do with renewal and revitalization. And it contains the code for what can be, like what we can accomplish. It was written by the disciple John when he was in exile. So the White Stone Ceremony is all about a fresh start and releasing what holds us back, which is really perfect for this time of year, right? It's the opportunity for us to let go of walking by sight, to let go of the idea that our lives are dictated by the conditions we perceive. It's the opportunity to pivot once again from fear to faith and affirm our divinity. We affirm our divinity, not the conditions. We affirm there is an indwelling spirit that guides each and every one of us. There's that within that knows what to do and how to do it, and it compels me to act on what it knows. We affirm that we are the activity of spirit in physical form. So here's the actual verse from Revelation chapter 2, verse 17. He who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says. To him who overcomes, I will give to eat of the hidden manna, and I will give him a white stone, and on the stone a new name which no man knows except he who receives it. So let's break this down Unity style, right? Shall we? The metaphor of this beautiful verse. He who has ears to hear what Spirit says. Do we wake up in the morning and affirm that we are an emanation of God in this body, that we are the activity of spirit in this world? And then do we listen to divine guidance? Do we honor the inspiration that we have received by acting on it? Or do we say, well, that would be great, but I don't know if I could handle that. That seems kind of hard. I don't know about that. Okay, that means that we don't have ears to hear, because we're not acting in faith on that. That's what it means to have ears to hear. We hear, but we also act on faith. To him who overcomes. We have had a lot to overcome this last year. But you know what? Actually, the one thing we're overcoming, it's just one thing, and it's not a condition. It's our idea about these conditions. It's our perception about these conditions. It's the limitation that we put around these conditions. So what we're overcoming is our own unconscious programming. And we run about 95% of the time on unconscious programming in the subconscious. We don't even know how we're running, right? Most of the time. Okay, so The unconscious program, if we're not overcoming, if we're running on that subconscious program 95% of the time, what happens is that programming, what we need to overcome is the programming that keeps us small, that keeps us scared, that keeps us stuck in our comfort zone, because that version of us does not feel our worth. Unconsciously, we will live in this belief that we are lacking our good, we have no way to get our good, that we live in restriction and limitation, we need other people to approve of us so we can feel good about ourselves, and we're victims of circumstance. If we are not listening to the voice of wisdom and understanding that's available through us all the time, then we're not able to overcome our unconscious limitations. We're not able to receive our good. And our good, that's the hidden manna. Manna is the bread of life. It is the word of God. It is the substance that brings things from the unseen into the seen, right? The intention and the activity and the substance. It represents the realization that divine substance is everywhere present. And this means that our good potentially can come from anywhere. When we see God in all things, when we call forth God in all things become a potential point where we experience divine activity interacting with us. This is how synchronicities happen. The universe likes to make things happen together. Now, with the white stone, then, with your ears to hear, and then you overcome. With the white stone, you get a new name that no one else knows. This is about embodying a new consciousness. No one can tell you what that needs to be. That is all up to you. That depends on what you want to call forth in this coming year. And we all probably want to call forth something different, but it's still all an expression of spirit. So it depends on us. We do this work. And this is about our concept of ourselves in God and God in us and God as us. So our old name, that's our old consciousness that we have to overcome. It is the old consciousness that kept us living a way of life that kept us from having the desired outcomes that we wanted. Okay, our greater good that Spirit is giving to us every day, but we're not receiving it. The old consciousness keeps us from recognizing that it's available and that it's ours. Our new name is the new consciousness. Our new name is that new consciousness that we are going to call forth, that we want to evoke, that supports expanding into a way of life that allows the greater good, that allows us, as we call forth the good through us, we send it through us and out into the world, right? We're not just hanging on to our good. Our good goes everywhere. Once it gets past us, it goes everywhere. So our word on our white stone, our new name, it would be our I am statement. I mean, you can pick a word like doorway to abundance. Of course, those are a couple of words, but it's a new consciousness. So it could be an I am, and then one of the 12 powers. I am faith. I am fortitude. I am grace. I am life with a capital L. I am a powerful creator. We call on these qualities, and these qualities then expand our consciousness. So we're calling forth the greater good. But when we don't have ears to hear, we cannot overcome. We cannot overcome. The reason that we would not have the ears to hear is because we forget who we are. We forget what we are. We forget our place in this world. We forget our reason for being. And we get stuck in perception. So we're walking by sight. And we're living a life in limitation and in reaction. We're reacting to life. We're reacting to the conditions. And guess what? It's also up to us to decide our worth. We are deciding our worth every moment, but it's through what we believe about ourselves. So if we are not in alignment with all this that's working through us, for us, as us, our worth about ourselves may be based on a faulty belief of, well, I don't make a lot of money, so I am not successful. I am not as smart as other people. I'm not as sparkly as other people. I don't have a special gift to bring to this world, so I'm just feeling stuck, right? That's a faulty belief. And guess what? You relinquish your authority every time you agree that you are small. And you're letting the outside world, everything outside of you, control you and decide your worth, right? And so you could get stuck in this idea. It can happen to anybody. We get stuck in this idea that we are less than, and you fill in the blank, whatever that would be for you. When we play the game of limitation, when we play the game of unworthiness, we create from limitation and we create from unworthiness. Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, he said something profound. Although everything Mr. Rogers said was profound. Okay, but what I'm sharing today, he said, the world needs a sense of worth, and it will achieve it only by its people feeling that they are worthwhile. When someone does not feel worthy, they're just not understanding the spiritual truth, the principles that we live by in unity. God is all things, everything that's ever been and everything that's yet to be, and that means me. Because there's not one thing that could ever be that's not an emanation of God. We are an emanation of spirit. Somebody who does not believe in their own worth is instead believing that they are the body that they inhabit and the restrictions and limitations of the physical body. They believe that that's who they are. And you know what? Being in this physical body on this planet, everybody has restrictions and limitations. Okay, we can't, through the power of positive thinking, sprout wings and fly through the air. We can't, through the power of positive thinking, morph into a unicorn, right? We do have certain restrictions on this physical body. Somebody who's not standing in their worth, they may believe that they are their circumstances, which it's all fine and dandy if they're winning at everything. But then they feel like they have to keep winning so they can keep feeling good about themselves. God forbid they fail at something, because then they believe they are the failure. Not that, well, that thing didn't work out, but it's all on them. And so they believe they're their circumstances. Now then they're operating out of a diminished sense of their self, and they're reacting to life from fear instead of participating with life in faith. We only will feel our worthiness when we remember who and what we are, what it is that works through us, for us, as us, and our reason for being. Now, lately, I have been enjoying a book by Paul Selig. And Taylor recommended Paul Selig to me last year, and I started listening to him on audio. Well, this book, The Book of Knowing and Worth, I have been having so many kaboom moments listening to it, I decided I had to get the real book so I could write in it and highlight things. Okay, and now this book, it is a channel text, okay, like Course in Miracles is a channel text, but it is so beautiful and so pure and so from love. And he says in here, okay, his cosmic companions, they say, we are singing your song today for you, so that you may learn the words to the song of your own soul's significance. That inspired me to call today's talk, Sing Your Song, right? Sing your song for 2021. Because as we are each singing our song, we are claiming our worth. And when we claim our worth, you know what we do? We lift this plane of existence to a new level of incarnation. When we claim our worth, we actually affect the people around us. Okay, when we claim our worth, but we have to be responsible for our own identity. We have to be responsible for claiming our worth because we're adults. We have to be the ones to remind us, to align. Okay, God is all things, and that means me. And through the power of affirmative prayer, right, and walking the walk, putting all these things to practice, that's how I am called forth greater activity of God through me, for me, and as me. But that's up to us, right? That's up to us. And of course, we can lovingly support each other, but nobody can actually make us do this until we decide, okay, I am going to do this. I'm going to do this. So they give us, in this book, Paul gives us an intention, like to every morning get up and this is the intention, to know this truth. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve, right? I've heard Taylor say this a million times. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. But we have to be in our worth to understand this, right? To be in that God is all things, everything that's ever been, that and everything that's yet to be, and that means me. Okay, we've got to be able to move into that. Okay, he says, I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve, and as I sing, I know. And as I know, I incarnate as my true self. I embody my Christ self, my Christ consciousness. Okay, that what we were told when after Jesus was crucified, he told us there would be that spirit would descend upon us. And that is what we are to call forth. Okay, so they're using singing as a metaphor of expressing our Christ nature, our divine nature, embodying the truth that we are the activity of God in this world, to call forth more love, more goodness, more compassion, more mercy, more kindness. So singing is the metaphor for our authentic self. And this really makes sense because singing, like literal singing, there's a letting go. And you have to become really vulnerable to let that song out. That's the only way you can call forth that gift of singing, is to become vulnerable. And that's why it terrifies so many people. I can't tell you how many people I know who want to sing, but they're terrified because it means letting down a wall to be authentic and real. Okay, so let's look at this. Who you are. Who you are. That's who you say you are. But this can be confusing, right? Because it depends on what you have gone into agreement with in your life. So I want to share what you are first. What you are, always and forever, you are an emanation of source energy created by God. Okay, created into a soul that decided to come to this earth and be in a physical body right now. You're always the aspect of the Creator. Right now, you're in physical form. And right now, that's not going to change. You're going to be an aspect of the Creator, no matter if you're in fear or if you're in faith. What you are doesn't change. Okay, at some point, we all lay down the physical body and go back to just being a soul. But it never changes that we are an aspect of the Creator. Never, ever changes. So who you are, it's who you say you are. But if you want to experience who you are as the activity of spirit in a body, you have to release the limiting claims of yourself. Okay, the claims of, oh, I'm not enough. I'm not special. Nobody loves me, right? We are responsible for our own identity. We are responsible for reminding ourselves, whoa, wake up. God is all things, and that means me. Okay? And that means me. Now, this is the power of the white stone ceremony, right? We have to have the ears to hear, and we have to overcome. We have to do that. And then we are given the white stone. Right? And the white stone has the new name that nobody knows because nobody can tell us. Okay, this is about us singing our song. Okay, so then how you serve. Okay, I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve. How you serve, how we all serve, we are participating with life. And when we are aligned with all this, we are participating with life from the divine truth that it is love with a capital L seeking to be expressed through us, for us, as us, and going out into life, right? Source works through us, for us, as us to keep expanding out into the world. But to do that, we have to release what's not in alignment with that truth. We have to have the ears to hear, right? And to act in faith and to overcome the bad programming that we might be operating from. That's all we got to do. It's so easy, right? Mr. Rogers said, "The greatest gift you ever give is your honest self." Now, if we are being honest here, those little lesser versions of us, okay, the little lesser version that comes from our ego, our little saboteur that sits right there, that little version of us that says, "I'm not worthy, I can't do this, nobody loves me." That's not worthy of the light that we carry. We don't honor that light when we hold ourselves back and live under the net of perfectly justifiable excuses that keep us small. We don't honor that light. That's why the greatest gift that we can give is our honest self. Our honest self moves us into our authentic self. Our authentic self knows our worth. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. And that turns our practice of service into an expression of love. Love. When we don't honor our divine nature, the gifts that we give, they're not really gifts because they come with a big, hot, steaming serving of guilt or shame or resentment or blame. So we've got to be aligned to actually be giving out gifts to this world. I learned something really interesting about the practice of service this last week. And it has to do with our dopamine levels, which the dopamine levels are the neurotransmitter, I have to read this, that are like, they have a role in our feeling good. So just go let somebody in here. Okay, so what I learned about service and dopamine. When our world went on lockdown, there's a new kind of stress that people were experiencing. And it was pretty bad for some people. And it's called pre-traumatic stress syndrome, which you've heard of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. That happens after the trauma. Pre-traumatic stress syndrome happens in expectation of something scary. And it may not ever happen, but the trauma of it, people are experiencing the trauma of being in that fear of expectation. Now, when the world went on lockdown and people couldn't go out and do their normal thing, and they had this fear, things that give us a little dopamine boost are doing things that are actually considered kind of negative behaviors. Okay, like scrolling through social media constantly, or binge watching all the time, binge watching something on TV just all the time to get through the day. Online shopping, right? Of course, a lot of us started doing our shopping online, but there's the extra shopping, the feel-good shopping that gives you a little rush of dopamine. Okay, I know a lot of people who started baking. And baking, that's a good thing. They were having family time, but some people were turning to food. Like, I'll say it. There's a quarantine. There's officially the quarantine 15. And over this last year, I know people complaining about putting on 15 to 20 pounds. Now, I myself, I almost put on 10 pounds, which I've lost because I recognized it was happening. But so yeah, there's these behaviors that give us that little boost of dopamine. Now, when we are in alignment with our divine nature, okay, God is all things, and that means me. How can I serve today? What could I do today to bring more love and good into this world? When we are giving in service, giving these gifts from love, we have a bigger impact. We also create a prolonged boost in our dopamine levels. Okay, this boost of dopamine we get from being of service and giving more love into this world gives us way more dopamine for a longer period of time than online impulse shopping, okay, or sneaking a cookie when nobody's looking. So service is actually very powerful, very powerful. Dr. David Hawkins, who's famous for the book Power versus Force, said, "We change the world not by what we say or do, but as a consequence of what we have become." What we have become. Because when we are moving in our own worth, when we are aligned with the divine within us, listening to the voice of spirit that is within us, we feel our worth. And we can actually stand and say, I know who I am. I am expressing into this life right now a loving spirit. I'm the activity of God. I'm moving into my Christ consciousness. I know what I am. I'm always the emanation of spirit. I know how I serve. By being my authentic self. That's how we're serving, by being our authentic, honest self. And then the gifts that come from that are just, we don't even know all the gifts that come from that. Sometimes people get those gifts. We don't even know it was a gift. We're just like, here, it was no big deal. So back to our white stone and our word. Like I like to say, like our word for 2021, if you want it to be your name or a quality, if you think about, like, what would you just like to do differently this year? It doesn't have to be a hugely different thing. What do you want to create this year? And then what do you need to call forth through you, for you, as you, to create that? Now, it could be one of the 12 powers, right? Faith, love, release, life, understanding, wisdom, power, strength. I don't think that was all 12, but they're out there. It could be maybe you want to call on the qualities, one of the qualities of the centered self, right? The calm, curiousness, being curious, compassion, clarity, confidence, creativity, connectedness. When you choose this new quality that you want to embody, and you are aligning with your divine nature, you're aligning with that power that creates worlds, and you are being given leverage that helps you become the next brightest version of yourself. Think about that. When you choose a quality and you align with that, you're aligning with the power that creates worlds. The universe is already, this moment, conspiring for you. It already wants to create more good than you can imagine, through you, for you, as you. And you are the means for that good to make its way into this world. Each of us, we are meant to be the activity that allows for that to happen. You are designed to create good in your life, to call forth the good through you, for you, as you. You are as amazing and wonderful as you allow yourself to be. The only person that can keep you from being amazing is you. That's it. I'm the only person that can stop myself from being amazing. You are the only person that can stop yourself from being amazing. You are a bright and a beautiful expression of the universe. Honor that presence by giving into that presence, surrendering to that presence, surrendering to that amazingness. Surrender to the light that you are. Because when we surrender to the light that we are, that's how we create heaven on earth. That is how we create heaven on earth. So until next time, remember that you are the divine activity of spirit in this world. You are the heart and the hands of God. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you.